Is Jaime Munguia the next fight for Canelo Alvarez? Munguia last night defeated John Ryder with a 9th round knockout finish. Canelo took that fight to the distance. So now all eyes are on Jaime Munguia and what he has potentially next. On today's podcast, we'll be talking about Munguia's win. We'll talk about what's next for him, and we'll be going over the technical aspects that I saw of the fight that I really enjoyed. So first things first, everybody seems to think that just because Canelo took John Ryder to the distance means Jaime Munguia's fight with him is a much better fight. And that is not true. First of all, we know Canelo struggles with southpaw. So, yeah, I guess you could say it is a better fight because he got the finish. But also, Canelo's coming up in weight. He hasn't had a knockout since like 2021. Bivol was the last, or the fight before Bivol, which was, I think that was Billy Joe Saunders. I don't know. Regardless, his last knockout was before Dimitri Bivol fight. He hasn't had a knockout in a long time. Canelo is going up in weight to fight at 168. He's probably better at home at 160, but there's nothing there for him. So he fights at 168, and he's undisputed there. A lot of people want to say that Jaime Munguia's win over Ryder, though, I saw a lot of this discourse on X where it's like, oh yeah, he's a better boxer. He's the one that everybody should be scared of. First of all, no. David Benavidez is the #1 guy in that division, not named Canelo. Second, he was just stylistically matched up better against Ryder. Now, John Ryder, like I said, he is a tough fight. John Ryder is a really good boxer, and he's a southpaw that knows how to use his advantages. So Jaime Munguia probably hadn't fought as many southpaws as he should have growing up in his, 42-fight career now. So Ryder, who knows how to exploit that well, he's not just a southpaw for the sake of it. He is a cerebral fighter, and he knows what advantages, what disadvantage he has as a right-handed fighter. So John Ryder is just a tough fight for anyone. I don't even know. I should have this card pulled up. I'm early in the podcast pulling up cards. But yeah, John Ryder's a tough fight for anyone. Really. He's just difficult. He's tricky with that southpaw stance. 32-7. So he's only lost important fights. His last one was obviously Jaime Munguia, Canelo Alvarez, but he's beat like Danny Jacobs. He took and won via split decision. Took Callum Smith to a decision. He lost that. He's pretty much lost every important fight. Rocky Fielding, he lost via split decision. Jack Arnfield was a unanimous decision. Nick Blackwell knocked him out in 7. That was back in 2015. So, Billy Joe Saunders took him to decision, but Billy Joe Saunders takes everybody to decision also. So, yeah, John Ryder's a tough fight for anybody out there. He's tricky. The southpaw stance, he really utilizes that well, and we're going to talk about some of that here in a second. But as for Jaime Munguia, Canelo beats him. And I hate to say it because he's a good guy. He's a good fighter. He uses a lot of his tools really well. His speed and his power, he combines them very well. But Canelo, Munguia gets hit way too much, honestly. And I don't even think Jaime Munguia beats David Benavidez. He might not even beat Charlo for all I know. So yeah, I was really impressed by Munguia though. He took a tough opponent in John Ryder, and he really brought forth a exciting fight against somebody who generally takes away your best weapons. Jaime Munguia understood the fact that a southpaw is susceptible to the body shot, specifically the lead hook to the body, so he found ways to work that in. And I just don't. What I saw from Jaime Munguia was not. It just didn't pass the eye test, if that makes sense. He's a good boxer. Don't get me wrong, and he can probably be a champion once Canelo's done, because he's actually pretty young. If I'm not mistaken here. He's been around for forever though. 40 pro fights, 43 pro fights now. He's 27. So yeah, I mean. He's a good fighter. Just I don't know if he's better than Benavidez, Obviously, he learned. So he's got some good wins on his record, actually. So the Sergiy Derevyanchenko fight was his last one in 2023. Now, Derevyanchenko is a He's another guy like like John Ryder. I'm sorry, not Jaime Munguia, except he's an orthodox fighter. And I mean, you got Sergiy Derevyanchenko. He's got a 14-5 record, but like Carlos Adams, I don't care about that one. That's a bad loss for him. But like Jamal Charlo and Gennady Golovkin couldn't get him out of there. Danny Jacobs, split decision. You know, he's not a tough out. He just hadn't been able to get over the hump. So that's a good win for him. John Ryder is another good win, especially with a knockout. And then let's see, who else has he knocked out? Gabriel Rosado, Gary Spike O'Sullivan, you know, Takashi Inoue, okay. Liam Smith was his last excellent win. That was back in 2018. So, yeah, I mean, Jaime Munguia is good, bro. But I just don't know if he's all the way good, if that makes sense. You've got Benavidez at the top. You've got, I mean, I favor him against David Morrell, you know. Caleb Plant would be a good fight. But yeah, so first of all, let's go ahead and dive into some tactics here, because tactics is what makes me excited. First thing is first, Jaime Munguia, he doubles up on his jab. So the foundation of his work will be the jab. And I mean, that should be the foundation of all boxers' works, but you know, there's Deontay Wilder, who has knockout power like that. David Benavidez, he has a good jab. But you look at a really good jabber like Triple G, these guys, they know how to use their jab, and they know how to bother you with it, and they also know how to hurt you with it. So you can have two different things. Munguia, he knows how to bother you with it, but his jab is usually to service the right. Now, granted, he is hurting you with that jab, and he's kind of in the middle of, I'm going to hurt you with the jab, or I'm going to bother you with the jab. He kind of sits somewhere in the middle. He does bother you with the jab a lot, but Jaime Munguia mainly, he's looking to hurt you with that right hand. So he's an orthodox fighter. His left hand is forward. His right hand is going to be his power hand. So what he does is he'll double jab, which will get you to back up, you know, because obviously he can slide that foot up forward. If you're leaning back like John Ryder was doing all night, Jaime Munguia will double up on the jab, and then he'll start coming behind it with a 2. So he'll jab, and then cross like that. And that cross, that's what he lands with. That's his power punch. That's his number one power punch. He uses it well. One good thing that he worked on this fight, though, was the fact that so a southpaw's liver is to the front. We know the liver shot is it's tough and it's a hard knockout to get, but when you get it, boy, they shut down. And I believe John Ryder's body was hurt in this fight, especially after that knockdown, even though it wasn't in the second round. It was right after Jaime Munguia threw this combination to the body. So what he'll do is he'll jab, and then he'll come with his 2, and that loads up his left hand again for a lead hook to the body, and he'll dig that in deep. Now, the reason that works more, I mean, it works effective against anybody, but the reason that works so well against a guy like John Ryder, who is a southpaw, it's because he's a southpaw. So what Jaime Munguia knows is the liver shot is on your right side, and when you're a southpaw, your right side's forward. So we talked about this in Ryan Garcia breaking down a southpaw to the body. It's a video. You can check that out. I'll have that into the description. But basically, a lead hook to the body. Garcia's really good at this. Jaime Munguia is great at this, it looks like. And his comes with a little bit more pop. So with this right hook, with the right side of your body being forward, that liver is like right there. And if somebody like John Ryder, who's willing to get into the pocket with you, leaves it out there, you hammer it home. And Jaime Munguia did that. So I believe John Ryder went down in that second round because his body was like, ooh, and we saw him crumble over a couple more times because of the body shot. And that really kind of, John Ryder gave a great account of himself, don't get me wrong. Jaime Munguia is in control of this fight the entire time, however. So the difference was, I think, the body work. So Munguia's coming with the jab and the cross up top, and he's kind of getting nowhere with it. Like, he's landing on Ryder, but it's not landing clean enough. Ryder's getting elbows in the way. He's checking them. And what Jaime Munguia decided to start doing is, I'm going to go to the body. And Ryder's hands started coming down. And that's really kind of what opened up especially that ninth round knockdown, both of those. I think there was two. The two at the end of the fight, it was because the body work and John Ryder's hands were lower than what they should have been. So that was really good read, really good adjustment by Jaime Munguia. He did move his head a lot. Jaime Munguia's dipping and slipping, but he doesn't do it in response to a punch. So like with Floyd Mayweather or with Canelo against Danny Jacobs, they're slipping the specific punches, whereas Jaime Munguia is moving his head to move his head. He knows something's coming back. He doesn't know what just yet. And I mean, that might play into his game. He probably likes to be a little bit more square to land his power punches, because he did fight in the pocket well, finding uppercuts and stuff like that. But at the same time, he's not moving his head in reaction to what his opponent's doing. He's moving his head in anticipation to what's coming. So, I mean, I like that look. That was a really good look from him. I'd like to see him a little bit more reactive instead of proactive when it comes to the head movement. Let's slip some punches to the inside and really come over the top with that right hand. I know it's harder against a southpaw. You can slip to the outside with an outside foot advantage. But at the end of the day, though, his head movement showed that he's not wanting to stay on the center line. And against somebody like Canelo, who is a sharpshooter, that's going to be very important. He's also going to have to protect his body, but Ryder didn't really go to the body too much. But man, John Ryder is tough, dude. He is a tough fighter. I mean, he makes everything he can ugly. We talked about it at the top, like Canelo is the best in the world, or he was when, he lost to Bivol, so he wasn't the best in the world then, but he's been among the top 5 in the world pretty much for a decade, so Ryder, to have that kind of a fight with him shows he's really good at using his southpaw advantage and his different angles and finding his different punches. And I think my favorite punch on the night, so with a jab-heavy guy like Jaime Munguia, you really kind of you gotta work with the jab. So what Ryder would do is, like, if Munguia would step to the inside foot angle, so there's no right or wrong on southpaw versus orthodox. You can go to the outside and you get that angle, or you can do like Manny Pacquiao and go inside. Ryder's comfortable with both, so was Jaime Munguia. So John Ryder would, when Jaime Munguia steps to the inside, Ryder pivots out. So he got a right hand forward, so he pivots his left foot out towards his right, and he fires this jab up underneath the jab of Jaime Munguia. And he did this all night. Like, he found this consistently 5, 6, 7 times on the night. And I was like, man, that's a good read on him, because just Jaime Munguia kind of leaves that jab out there for a little bit too long. And it's like, come on, bro, don't mess yourself. You better check yourself before you wreck yourself. And Ryder was really kind of catching him with it, just didn't quite have enough power on this. And another guy that we saw do this really well, and he's fighting up this week coming up, is Teofimo Lopez against Josh Taylor, who is also a southpaw. These UK guys, they're all southpaws, it seems like. Billy Joe Saunders is a southpaw. Callum Smith, was he a southpaw? No, he was orthodox, I think. Yeah, because Beterbiev is a southpaw. But Teofimo Lopez did this to Josh Taylor, and his shellacking of Josh Taylor. He would come up under the jab. He did this a couple times. And when Ryder was finding this, they had one real good highlight I posted on my Twitter account. You can go find that from DAZN, where he snapped his head with just a nice little uppercut, shovel hook type thing up under the jab on the pivot. It was really, really, really well done. And I liked what I saw from John Ryder. He's a good fighter, and just because he has a bad record doesn't mean he's a bad fighter. He's just not the best fighter, if that makes sense. You got to be able to separate the two, because there's good fight like Sergiy Derevyanchenko. We talked about that next, which that'd be a great fight for John Ryder next. That'd be really fun, even though Derevyanchenko's kind of over the hill too. But Ryder said he's going to retire after this. I'd like to see him fight a couple more, get a couple more wins, and he doesn't need to go fight the top guys anymore. But like a Caleb Plant would be a fun fight. So I really enjoyed that. What's next? How does super middleweight play out? That's my question now, I guess. Sorry, I'm like notating timestamps for the video. David Benavidez is absolutely the most deserving. He's the best fighter not named Canelo Alvarez in that division. His wins over Demetrius Andrade and Caleb Plant really should put him next in line for May. Canelo comes back for May, Cinco de Mayo weekend. That's his thing. That's his thing every year. Benavidez should absolutely be next. I'm hearing Jermall Charlo. I'm seeing it online. That's probably what's going to be happening next, even though David Benavidez absolutely deserves it. His 2 wins there, just give it to him. But like Charlo, he's a champion in 160, He's wanted the Canelo fight for a long time too. And he got out there and he got a win. Which one? Jamal Charlo, I'm sorry. But Canelo's going to take this fight because it's probably the bigger fight, if we're being honest. And I get it, you got to make your money. You're getting brain damage for a living. But yeah, it should be Benavidez next. Like, it really should, because David Benavidez is the better fighter. He's got the better resume at 168. He's up next. He's young, and he would future-proof Canelo's resume. Munguia's next down on that list. His win over Derevyanchenko was a good win against a guy like that really gave Triple G problems. And then, obviously, this win over John Ryder kind of makes a statement like, hey, I knocked out Ryder, Canelo. You should be fighting Jaime Munguia next. David Morrell, the interim champ, is out. He's right behind these two and Jermall Charlo. And Jermall Charlo will probably get the next fight. That's just the way, that's the manner in which the pastry disintegrates. It's just how the cookie crumbles. So yeah, guys, that's going to be it for today. What do you think? Who wins? Who should Munguia fight next? Should he be getting the shot against King Canelo, or is it going to be somebody else like David Benavidez, who's the rightful fighter of it, or will it be Jermall Charlo, who is the probable fight? Sound off in the comments and let me know. Obviously, you've got my X account underneath here. You've got my newsletter here, and you can also subscribe because that really helps the channel out. And yeah, that's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll catch you on next week. We'll be talking about, for the boxing guys, obviously we'll talk about Teofimo Lopez and Jermaine Ortiz, and we'll also be talking about the upcoming UFC match, which is Jack Hermanson versus Roman Dolidze. So those will be 2 separate videos. You can check that out, and yeah, we'll call it a day. Later.